This comment got me thinking, so I want to talk about it for a moment. Um, and I'll get rid of this in green screen here in a second. But I had posted a video that was just a quick 7-second snippet. Funny memory for me of when I used to do the sifting process that I do very, very, very manually. Literally, me just doing this. And I've since then changed it with a Sawzall for one section of that sifting tower. And I posted that video, and it was just a fun memory for me. And this commenter commented, so lazy. Not that lazy is bad, mind you. Almost every major advancement in history has been linked to making things easier in some way, easier to work, farm, live, travel, communicate. And I know this person comments all the time. Super helpful individual. And so you can see, like, it gets me thinking. I'm doing a video reply, and they said, "I'll get the popcorn." So no shade to this person at all. And there's a lot of context behind this over past videos around lazy versus, what the opposite of that is. And so, yes, lazy to a degree. Because what I'm finding is, like, my current major goal is to get this 2,100 square foot building fully operational, cranking out as many live mealworms and quality frass as possible in an efficient manner that doesn't rely on robots, automation, software, limited inputs based on what's around, and human beings running things and doing things. And I'll probably throw this in the Mealworm Farmer Salary series as I think through this. But the reason I want to do that is I want to stand up, I want to help other people stand up their own version of this insect farm in order to help with I really feel like a small insect colony on a small farm can be super beneficial without a ton of time, without a ton of expenses, and it can be forgiving. And so, what I mean by that is, like, in my current building, everything is by hand with or very simple machining that a simpleton like myself can put together and repair and understand, right? Like, I'm not writing software in order to run a machine. I'm not using Raspberry Pis to code and get everything in there. Like, everything's very simple. I do have some automation in the form of smart plugs and sensors, but those are low cost. The sensors that I use are $50 a piece, and they've lasted for years. I've had those sensor push sensors for 5 years or something. Inkbird, I was not super. Batteries die super fast. Like, the sensor push. Anyway, they're not super difficult, not super expensive, and in the grand scheme of things, a simple temperature gauge, simple regular thermometer would be fine. Um, and so, because that's my goal, I have a very specific endpoint, and so I'm trying to do things very efficiently for a very specific reason. And what I'm finding is, as I progress from one level of production to another, there's no blueprint for what to do here, and so I'm making it up as I go along. And what I'm finding is things like this video that I posted, where I'm moving from a very manual way of doing something to a machine doing it for me, can be looked at as the lazy way, right? And the funny back and forth that this person and I have had in the past is that, doing something a lazy way isn't bad, because what that allows you to do is do more of that thing, right? And in this case, I can sift more in a day than I could before. And where I wanted to go with this, and what it makes me think of is, um, what I don't want to get away from is the physical aspect of this to a degree. So I vividly remember this time of manually doing all this work because it was just a bear to do it. Um, like I'd get done working and I wouldn't want to do anything that night. And that sucked. Like I want to be able to do other things. And so that really motivated me to get a fix in place and a change in place, in order to do that more efficiently so that I could maximize my energy that I had every day into things that I wanted to do, not just things I needed to do. Um, but I wanted to balance that with something economical, right? Like I could have bought a machine to do this, but that's crazy expensive, and then I'm relying on other things, yada yada. Um, but I want to keep the physical aspect of it because I find value in that for me as a human. I find value in the sweat and the labor and the physical activity. It feels good to get the right amount of physical activity. Um, and so I want to do it in the lazy way, but not the super lazy way. Um, and that's a lot of what drives my, not just my salary, but the other things within that building. Um, because I don't want to get away from having that physical activity. Uh, and then the other reason I want to have some or need some efficiencies in there, is that one, my goal is to be able to run that place, um, in a way that doesn't take all of your energy throughout the week so that you can supplement your farm scenario with insects in a viable way, um, and have a blueprint to do that. Because I really feel like that's going to be beneficial in the long term for people. But on the flip side, I need to balance the fact that I'm only getting older, right? And because of the things I do in that farm can be repetitive, I need to be aware of the fact that, like when I'm pouring the trays into that top tray to sift, and I take my hand and I smack that tray a couple times, um, I'm doing that 100 times, 200 times, just in that day, and that's going to beat the heck out of my hands, right? And so, finding a more efficient way that operates within those guidelines of what I've got to work with, um, is important because it will allow me to do the things in the future that I'd like to do. But it also allows me to do it now, so that I don't come home at the end of the day and my hands just hurt like hell, and I don't have things to do, or don't have energy to do the things that I need to do. So yeah, the lazy way, um, but a good lazy, a balanced lazy.